meet some of your favourite Disney characters and take those all-important photographs is one of the best things about visiting Disney. But some adults feel uncomfortable doing this. So today I'm going to give you some advice and tips on how to meet the Disney characters so that you can avoid an awkward experience and instead have an awesome experience. My name is Sophie from Most Magical Guides, and I make videos all about how to plan trips to Disney World and Disneyland Paris, and even do vlogs of my own trips. Often they're solo trips and adult trips, so if that is something you like, then make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. I love the character interactions. You get some really amazing memories made and some great photographs. So these are some of the tips that I advise other people to use so that you don't feel awkward, you have a really great time, and you can make some of those magical memories with your favourite characters. The first thing I would suggest is speak to them about their film or their story or other characters in their film. This way you're setting yourself up to have a conversation about things you both know. They'll be super knowledgeable about that, and you'll be able to have a great background knowledge about the film that they're in and stuff like that, and it just makes the conversation flow. And you can also throw in some funny things or some funny moments, ask them how other characters are doing, say how much you dislike a certain character. You can have really good fun doing this. When I was recently in Disneyland Paris, I did a princess dining meal, and one of the people that you got to meet was Sleeping Beauty. Now at Disneyland Paris, it is Sleeping Beauty Castle, and underneath it they have the famous dragon. So I said to Sleeping Beauty, I don't mean to worry you, but there is a dragon that I've seen underneath your castle. And then that prompted a really cool conversation. So all little things like this are really great to spark a little interaction that you could have together. Another thing you could do is talk to them about things in the park or what you've experienced during your day. One time I met Snow White and she asked me, what have you been doing today? And I told her that I'd been to see a show called Mickey and the Magician, and there was lots of magic and effects and it was really great. And she asked me, do you think I should take the dwarfs to see it? And I said, absolutely. But the problem is, Grumpy will enjoy it and be happy, and then you'll have two dwarfs called Happy. So what are you going to do? And then that again, we had like a fun little conversation about what we could call Grumpy with his new name, and it was just super, super fun. It is good to remember that Disney characters can only speak about things that exist in the Disney universe. So if you start asking them about TikTok dances or something you may have seen on the TV or a film that's not related to Disney, they won't be able to answer you or know what you're talking about because it doesn't exist to them. That being said, they can still talk about different characters and things in the Disney universe. So for example, you could ask Ariel if she's ever seen Nemo when she's been swimming around and things like that, because these things do exist to them. One thing I would say is don't be afraid to get into it. You can absolutely go in making up a full storyline or a scenario, and the characters, especially the face characters that can talk back to you, will go along with it. They are trained actors, they know how to improvise, and it can be really fun. I always think it's really great if you can have a little conversation or a fun interaction, because you don't want to wait for a long time in a queue and then kind of just get there and stand next to them and it's almost like they're a human prop. So it's nice to have these kind of little interactions, and that's the thing you will remember far more than the photograph. If you are a bit nervous about meeting characters, it's good to remember that face characters can talk back to you, so you can have interactions and speak, whereas the furry characters or people like Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse that have the full costume on, they can only interact with body language. So sometimes that can be a bit more awkward because you're trying to interpret what they're trying to tell you, and you need to kind of make the conversation flow. Whereas if you're speaking to a face actor character, then they are trained actors, like I said, so they will kind of guide the conversation so you don't have to feel so much pressure. One of the best character interactions I've ever had was with Lady Tremaine at 1900 Park Fair, which is a character dining restaurant at Walt Disney World. I am a big fan of the Disney villains, so I was super excited to meet her, and I also love cats, and she has a cat called Lucifer. So when she came to our table, I asked her straight away, how is Lucifer? How is he doing? And she said, oh, he's doing great, but Prince Charming doesn't allow him in the dining room. And I said, oh, sick of him, get rid of him, kick the prince out, get the cat in. And we immediately became best friends. She sat down at the table, she was like, oh, we must meet up and play checkers, and it was amazing. We had like a really, really fun interaction, and I think that's the thing, if you can go in with one little quote or tidbit, it can then evolve into something, and it's really, really fun. Most of the times you will find if you do meet a face character, they will actually lead the conversation. A great example of this is Gaston, and you can meet him in Fantasyland at Walt Disney World. This is a character meet I would absolutely recommend. It is so funny. When I met him, he was like, oh, what do you think I've won a competition for? And I was like, muscles. And he was like, no, hair, and I was like, it was amazing. If you go up as a couple, it's very funny because he tries to compete with the man and flirt with the woman. Like, it's just a very, very fun experience. But as I say, he leads all the conversation, so you don't have to worry about what I'm going to say. He will make sure that you have a fun time, and he will make sure that he is the one that kind of sets it all up and gets the ball rolling. If you are going to meet some of the furry characters or the full characters like Mickey Mouse, then like I say, they can only communicate with body language, but it is really impressive how they really get their messages across. Because of this, you will kind of need to lead the conversation a bit, but there are some topics you can always talk about, like complimenting their outfit, say something you've enjoyed during a day. I'm always wearing ears, so whenever I meet Mickey, I always say, oh, I've grown my ears for you, and little things like that, and they can be really, really fun experiences. As a side note, if you ever meet Chip and Dale, people tend to get confused, which one's Chip, which one's Dale, how do you know? When I worked for the Disney store, they gave us a really easy thing to remember, and that is that Chip has a chocolate chip nose. So he has the brown chocolate chip nose. That's how you know it's Chip. Red nose is Dale. Another big tip is don't feel embarrassed if you say something silly or you feel a bit shy or awkward. It's totally normal, it is an unusual setting, and the characters will do everything they can to make you feel comfortable, so never worry about that. And also remember, sometimes it happens the other way around. Sometimes the character might say something that's a bit silly or goofy or unexpected, and that's just fine and you roll with it. I actually had a funny experience again when I was at 1900 Park Fair. I don't know if the Prince had heard me slagging him off, but I met him and I had said, oh, my parents are trying to marry me off. I've already had to meet Gaston this morning. Now I've had to come and meet you. And he said to me, I think you should go and hang out over there with the ugly stepsisters. Not so Prince Charming. And it was one of those moments that was a bit like, ooh. And I think it was just a case of he was going along with the storyline, and obviously they are trying to be married off as well. But it did come across a bit awkward. But it's just one of those things, when you're improvising or creating little stories up, these things will happen, and actually it was quite funny. If playing along and having interactions like that is not something you enjoy, then it's perfectly fine just to go up and say hello and ask for a photograph. They are absolutely prepared for this, and they know that that is something that some people prefer to do, so never worry about that. You are absolutely entitled to just go and ask for a photograph. That being said, if you do want a special photograph with a special pose, absolutely ask for that. If you meet some of the Star Wars characters, it can be really cool to pose with the Force, or you can meet Minnie Mouse and like hold out your skirts. There's all little things you can do, so do not be afraid to ask, is it okay if we pose like this? If you are going to have a photograph, make sure that you have your camera ready beforehand. This way it makes it easier for whoever's taking the photograph for you to do the photograph, and it just makes things speedy. I was very lucky once to have a really amazing encounter. My favourite Disney villain is Dr. Facilier, and he is hardly ever seen anywhere. And I was in Disneyland in Anaheim, and he did one of these like pop-up meet and greets where sometimes rare characters will just appear in the parks. So I was there at the right time, the right moment, ran up to get a photograph, and the person who was taking the photograph, it didn't work. So I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? So I queued up again, and then I asked the people behind me would they mind taking a photograph. So I politely went up to Dr. Facilier and told him that his voodoo magic was just too strong and the camera stopped working, and then he was quite happy to take more photographs. So things do happen, it's absolutely fine, but try and be as prepared as you can with your camera in advance. If you do have Memory Maker or PhotoPass, any of these official Disney photo packages, then those photographers will take amazing photographs of you. Something I really love is they not only take the photographs of you posing, they also take candid photographs, which honestly have ended up being my absolute favourite ones. Another top tip is never be afraid to ask people to take your photograph, especially if you're travelling solo, or maybe you're in a group and you'd like a photograph all together. People visiting Disney tend to be really happy to help out other people, and what I would say as a courtesy, offer to then take their photographs. Something that I really like is sometimes people will also take candid photographs of you whilst you're having your photographs taken with your characters, and this is really nice because you never expect it. So when you look on your phone you see all these candid photographs, it's really, really nice. And again, when I met Dr. Facilier, the people that took my photograph for me did this, and they were some of my favourite photographs of that trip. One thing to be aware of is just be conscious of the time. When you do meet characters, they aren't rushing you to run off or like looking at their watch like come on now, but just be aware that people have been queuing for a very long time, so try not to take up huge amounts of time with your character when you finally get to meet them. Something that is of the utmost importance is to be kind, respectful and courteous of their personal space. Hugs are now back at Disney, which is fantastic, but it's always good to ask, is it okay if I have a hug? Sometimes the queues to meet characters can be super long, so one way to get around this is to do a character dining meal. Now these are a bit more expensive than regular restaurant prices, but that is because you're getting a great meal as well as meeting Disney characters. They tend to roam around the restaurant, come up to your table, you can have photographs and speak to them, and they're a really fun way of getting to meet your characters without standing in queues. And the most important tip is just to have fun. It's supposed to be a great time, you're getting to meet some of your favourite characters, make amazing memories and have great photographs together, so just enjoy it. Whatever feels natural for you will be perfect and they will be happy to oblige. I've been really lucky to have some incredible interactions with the Disney characters and go away with some amazing photographs, so I really hope that these tips can help you have an awesome interaction instead of an awkward interaction. Let me know which character you would absolutely love to meet in the comments down below. I love all of the villains, you very rarely see them, so they are my top pick to try and spot whenever I can. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time, I hope you have a most magical day. Bye bye.